Clearly, for obvious reasons, like if he was having the affair. But again, that's all speculation. Excuse me. Just, I don't know. That he just has the most motive, to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of motive there, definitely.
There is, but at the same time, these other axe murders that happened around within that year have so many similarities that, okay, maybe he paid, maybe it wasn't Mansfield he paid. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was the other Moore guy that he paid. You know, maybe he saw somebody get off at the railroad tracks and knew he was just sticking around for a little bit, was going to hop back on the tracks, travel around, and do his thing. Maybe he paid one of those guys, and then that guy was like, oh, and then kept doing what he was doing. There's so many
possibilities.
Yeah, and you know, if this happened in real life,
Yeah.
So scary. I actually, well, I don't want to say in our family, because it's not our family, but it's links to our family, axe murders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Fucked up, right?
Yeah,
when you think about it, and then you think
is.
about the sisters and how fucked up they are now, and it kind of like makes sense. Like, you're like, man, they're batshit crazy. Like, worse than me and you. But there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely crazy because that's way too close to home and like way from 1912.
Yeah.
Like, I even wanted to research that sometime just to look into it. I don't know what they have on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not something I want to go ask her about.
No.
By any means,
Yeah.
She probably wouldn't know what I was talking about anyway.
Probably not.
Fucking crazy. is what that is. Mansfield, even though he was locked up, he was released in 1912 on murder charges. But he did have an alibi.
Oh.
I didn't know they took alibis way back then. Weird, right? Back to the Reverend Jacqueline Kelly. Like I said, he was arrested in 1917. He was the other prime suspect in the murders. He was a traveling preacher. They settled in Macedonia, Iowa in 1912. That was after the fact that he was the traveling preacher for a few years out through the Midwest. He was arrested and charged with only one of the victims.
I wonder how it would be with only just one.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it was... Well, see, that's what is so messed up. Like, okay, you got 8 dead bodies there. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're going to find that, okay, maybe he liked little kids. Okay? And I think it goes back to the little girl that was left. Not like the rest
Exposed.
of them. Exposed. Yes. Okay, but what happened to the rest of them? Was he not there alone and, like, he tells somebody else that... You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Or maybe they
would only try to charge him for one.
Maybe they just figured one would be enough.
I don't know. That one gets me. I don't really think there's a what if with that one. To me. I could be completely off base. But he was invited to attend the Children's Day at the Presbyterian Church that day. So he was there. He was present in Villisca on the night of the murders. Now, he did depart in the early morning hours of June 10th, which that's what made him prime suspect. But how are you going to make... Okay, I understand it. Let's get him back in. Question him, what have you. Now, but to be like, only one of them? You got 8 bodies.
Yeah, it's weird.
What? I mean, if you're going to charge him with one, you might as well charge him with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because you're going to go down at that point. He supposedly confessed. Like I said, he made a mockery of the police station at that time when that happened. He withdrew before the trial began. The first trial resulted in a hung jury. He was finally acquitted by the second trial, which would make sense just because I don't know. It's so crazy. But he ended up moving around Kansas City to Connecticut and then New York City. Where he is, where his body is, where he passed away, nobody knows. So they say. So maybe he changed his name because he was linked with that, because that was a big deal back then.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want your name linked to any of that. Now, Henry Moore, we'll go back to him. Like I said, that federal officer that claimed to have solved 23 of these murders, he said, okay, yep, it's Henry Moore that's done all this. He's a serial killer. He wanted to bring out a serial killer because there was a lot of links. There's no doubt in my mind that it could have been all linked together, or maybe a series of people that knew each other.
Maybe.
Because travel at that time wasn't very fast. It wasn't like you just hop on a plane like we can now.
Yeah.
You know, it was horse buggy, it was train. You know, that's how it was, or jumping on a horse. You just weren't going to travel all these times. You know, it was going to take days and days to do. So, Henry Moore, he was locked up for a very, very long time for these murders. McClary, that was his theory of it, and it essentially does make sense.
Oh, it does make the most sense.
Because his family was done the same way. To me, that's the one that makes the most sense. Could any of these be possible? Yeah, because anything's possible. I don't know. It just really sucks at the time of the murders and when they were found, and the bodies were found, that so many people just walk through and, you know, some of the people were able to take pictures. I don't know if it was a pharmacist, but back then, you know, they had like the huge big old things. But that was probably the only safe, I don't want to say evidence, but crime scene stuff that they could conserve. Was because they took a picture of it before people started coming through. How are you going to go in and start moving around and take somebody's skull?
That is kind of weird.
Like,
yeah.
I know people were messed up back then, and we only say that because they weren't educated on stuff. And that's fine, but no. Like, the sheriff of the town should have been, like, right there and been like, no, nobody touch anything. Nobody's allowed in here. Why would you want anybody to see that?
Yeah, that's kind of gross.
Kind of really gross. Like
yeah.
The children, and then going up and seeing the parents, and then... See, you know, there's so much more to this that I did not hit because of the wine. It kind of took a different turn than what I wanted, but to be able to go see that location, I really, really want to, because I want to see if those marks are still in the ceiling. I want to see if you get anything from the house, especially from the sisters. You never know. Maybe they have had a medium go in there to try to figure out to get some kind of answers. I know that they do that, especially nowadays, now that it's more open and talked about. Not necessarily saying that would hold up in court, but it gives them a direction to look. I mean, why not? It still comes down to one of those what-if things, you and your bird on your head, I tell you what.
Well, he's comfortable.
Yes, he is. My mom just messaged me. Sarah, are you putting Ethan in a tuxedo? Can't believe she just called me Sarah. That's funny. Yeah, bird on your head, your mouth is wide open. That's funny. Sorry. It's going to be a lot of fun editing. So, with all that being said, God, I feel like this is such a horrible episode. Oh, man, I covered the basics, right?
Yeah.
Serial killer. There is so much that if we ever started another podcast, because people have 3 or 4 that they do, this will be one that we can cover. Because there is so much in depth in so many different directions. You have to find the correct way to go the direction of them, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Because you can get lost, just like I did, with rattling off these names. Yeah. Sorry. See, there's all these other ones. These confessions. Look at a Detroit prisoner. Like, I couldn't, last night, I couldn't get all this in, like, in my brain to stick. So let's jump to the nowadays with the house. In 94, Darwin and Martha of Cumming, Iowa purchased the home. That's who have returned it to its original state and now allow it to be where you can go to tours. You can go to daytime tours or you can rent it out overnight, like I said at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $400, which isn't bad considering some other places and what you may experience here. Now, there have been psychics, there's been films, there's been books on the house.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to get my hands on those. Some of the psychics that have been brought in claim they have identified the murderer. And history buffs continue to collect documents and other history. But again, that's got to become repetitive because you only have so much back then.
Oh, yeah.
You know. Okay, well, if these psychics have came up with a murderer's name, why haven't we heard these? I want to hear them. Even if it's just speculation. I want to know what they are. So then you start digging in. Okay. You can still probably find out, you know, about where they were living, what they were doing, what they were saying. You know, maybe link it up to all the murders. Yeah. There's just so many what ifs. Sorry. I'm reading as we go. I cannot believe I'm doing this. There has been people that have admitted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, have taken it back type of thing. And I think ultimately those people want the fame.
The fame, the attention.
Yeah. How sad. That's weird. It's Joseph and Sarah Stillinger, isn't it? Sarah and Josiah Moore.
Sarah and Josiah Moore, yeah.
But then it's Sarah and Joseph Stillinger, the mother and...
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy.
It is.
I just linked that. Yeah, so, okay, with all my crap being said, that's all a hot mess, and I do apologize for that. I'll try to make up some timeline or something, or we'll come back and hit this in deeper depth as far as on the true crime side goes. I'm really anxious to hear about the paranormal stuff, and that's where Mama Mary will come in and save the day with the investigations. Like I said, it's open for investigations now. You can stay there. There's been some pretty intense investigators that have went there that have not left the location alive.
Yeah.
Investigators that have evidence, some that get cut short because of crazy shit that happens during the investigation. So go ahead and take over, Mama.
Well, after the murder, the house was lived in for years, but like whoever, purchased the home, they would never stay there very long. So I think that's why it laid empty for so long until they bought that house in 1994. And, it could be the reason why instead of living in there, they just decided to, redo it and make it a historic place.
Yeah.
There's they say that the phenomena that you've experienced there hasn't been anything that you wouldn't have experienced there. Disembodied footsteps, things moving, voices, apparitions, shadows, bad vibes. There's nothing that people have not experienced staying there. It's kind of fascinating when you think about it. They do have the tours daily, and they had the ones at night. And I researched a lady who had talked about how she went there with her paranormal group, but she also went there on her own too to do an investigation because she likes a good murder story.
Well, yeah, and who doesn't?
The house itself was fascinating because it's set up just like it would have been with the doll sitting on the bed and all over.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that's great that they bought the house.
It is.
Knew the history of it, and they restored it back to it. That was just awesome of those people to do.
It's a way of recognizing what happened there and kind of honoring it.
Well, yeah, because that's the Axe murders. That's what put Villisca on the map for anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's like any other Iowa town. I lived in Story City. Probably 3 people know where Story City, Iowa is, or Roland, Iowa, or they're
they're
towns,
just little places.
That murder put that on the map. That's why people have talked about it. That's why it's been on some of these paranormal shows and whatnot. That's why it's known, is because of this, and for people to accept that challenge
Mm-hmm.
and take it on. Okay, you know what? Let's see what we can. I'm not saying they did it to get rich by any means, but they're preserving the history.
Preserving the history and seeing if you can find the answers.
Yeah.
So that's like the greatest respect of all, is finding the answers, finding out what happened. And like one of the most fascinating things they have is they have a board that when you walk out towards the barn, that's like filled with photos. And the realization that it's photos of paranormal experiences there, from like, pictures of a man getting scratched on his back, and lots of night pictures with orbs and things like that. Everybody just, they go there, they leave a piece of themselves there.
Yeah.
It, kind of adds to the history.
That's so cool. We
And
gotta
it,
go.
it makes you think, what exactly is there? For me, like making my own theory, I kind of feel like it's a tycoon thing, and I feel like it's a money thing, and maybe, just maybe, all those murders that were around, the one guy who was a serial killer was hired by the senator to take people out that were a threat in different states too. Because if you're building a business, and if you're building a business that has the ability to lose a company like John Deere, you are already big.
We'll have the connections even through the government. Not even, it's business and government.
You have more connections than just your local town.
Too,
so what if he utilized the serial killer and sent him to places all around to take out the people that were in his way?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the first thing before, because I purposely didn't study the crime part at all.
Right.
And that's the first thing that came, was that it was a money thing. It was a money thing.
Oh, yeah. It's all political and money.
That's my theory.
Like that nowadays. But that's where your mind, and like I said, my gut goes to. Yeah, I hear these other stories or whatever, but maybe he didn't do it alone. Maybe there was more than one at the time. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe he did use Josiah's own axe.
Maybe he drugged him. Maybe, he let himself be found, and it's a church day. They took him inside and fed him, and he put something in their drinks. And maybe the little girl who woke up, she didn't like that drink, and she didn't drink it.
Right.
And that's why everybody slept through it.
I know there's so many what ifs. It's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That speculation that's out there. The house is furnished with, a creepy mix of period antiques, modern kid toys. It gives you, that unsettling energy when you're walking through it. Mm-hmm. So, it kind of, I guess, would add to the appeal when you're going and doing an investigation, adding to that energy. And it could be one of the things that hold all that energy is awakening that house back up by recreating it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would kind of...
That would essentially, to me, be the best way to do it for these people. Like, if they wanted to restore the history of it. Like you said, set it back to like it's 1912. Those spirits, you may have put them back at comfort, per se. Maybe not comfort, but in a familiar situation where they're like, oh,
familiar
this is my
territory
house.
Type thing.
Yeah, because if it's the more children that are there, then that's their house. You set that back to.
Yeah. Well, they say like one of the creepiest paranormal spots up there is the attic space. And, it's alleged that that's where the murderer hung out while he waited for the family to fall asleep. You go up there and a lot of people describe it as oppressively hot, but you also get a very inner, dark, energetic feeling. Oppressive. It's hot, but it's oppressive, like a big weight sitting on you when people go up there. That's the biggest report of that area. They even have I found research where the paranormal group went in there and they literally have a video, I do believe it's up in the attic, of they're videotaping a chair, and they catch it at the right moment where they actually see the image of a leg come down and put their, like it's sitting there and puts the... Yeah. Yep. So they have there's what's I think fascinating about this house is there's also lots of documentation. They have lots of paranormal proof. It's not just they've gone in there and investigated and they have a speculation. They have pictures of paranormal proof, and that's what draws people to this house so much. Is it's they have the documentation where people want to get their own, and then they just keep on adding to it.
Right, because each not event. Each, what is the word I'm looking for?
Occurrence?
Well, each experience is going to be different. Because they're going to try to reach out, these spirits are going to try to reach out to people. I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it wrong differently. Okay, let's say you and I went there.
It's a different kind of energy.
Out to you.
Yeah.
But they know how they can get you or to get your attention. Now to somebody else, to get somebody else's attention, they're going to have to
do something different.
Throw a book.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that in my research...
and that does kind of make sense because I don't have a lot of weird stuff that happens to me, like books throwing or going off the shelves, but also I can sense spirit and I connect with it that way where they don't... That's a good point. They don't have to do that to get my attention where... They would with other people.
And that would take a lot of their energy to do. They have to muster up that energy and take that from something, whether it be equipment or yourself, and do that.
Well, they have tour guides there too, and they talk about all the different things that they experience, where they're just sitting there and then, something flies off or something goes across the room and there's no reason for it other than the supernatural. And then, the one paranormal investigator that ended up stabbing himself because he was staying in a bedroom alone.
Fucked up, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I remember that story, and I remember hearing about that. Like I said, back when I heard about it, I didn't put the two and two together that, okay, yep, it's the Villisca house. Yep, this guy went there. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm interested in these. Like, it took me until now to link those together, which is a very not clearly, but my opinion, he had some other issues going on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a dark entity there.
It could be. It could be connected to the land, yeah.
Do those things. It's very sad. It was a very, wow. And to still have that open after that.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the tour guides, they talk about how you hear things moving around and you hear the footsteps upstairs, but they have a lot of experiences when they're on the second level. And like one of the things she did with the paranormal group, this was a tour guide, she pointed to a toy car that was sitting on one of the old stoves, and she said earlier it had been lying on the other side of the stove upside down. Nobody moved it, but she likes to do little tests like that with the toys and put them in certain positions to see what's going to naturally occur when you're not in the room. And they do those tours. That's kind of interesting because the tours are only what $10? So that's not really bad for a price.
The overnight price, really where you can do your own investigation, I think is not a bad price either from pricing out other locations that you can do. Again, this is another location that's on the Historic Society. That's why they charge so much. You have to take into consideration maintaining that house.
Oh, yeah.
Maintaining houses not like we do that every day. And it's costly. So I know a lot of investigators or groups complain about the prices, or not even investigators and groups, because we understand everyday average Joe, what do you mean you got to pay? It's more or less to keep it going so people can get in there, so we can get in there and keep it updated. Because if they were to just let that house go, it wouldn't be there no more and be condemned.
Well, they had like reports where they hear children playing and they hear other voices and they get tons of pictures. And what I really like is Martha Lynn, the owner, she has notebooks just notebooks upon notebooks for at least like
sure.
the last 2 years, where they have people come in and write down their experiences in those notebooks, and the other people get to read them too. So that's fascinating too. It's kind of like,
we should have, sorry, I cut you off. A goal we should have for the podcast is to be able to interview them.
that would be cool.
The owners, let them know sometimes we're able to go out, even if it's for a quick weekend trip. I've taken many quick weekend trips out to Iowa. Not that it's real exciting, but my daughter was there, so I had a reason to go there. But we could easily do that in a weekend or whatever, but let them know, hey, we have this podcast. We'd love to interview you and maybe record before doing a night investigation there, with them. I think that would be awesome.
Well, the investigator that has stabbed himself, his name was Robert Stephen Larson Jr. He's 37 of Rylander, Wisconsin. And he just arrived with like a group of friends. They were doing like just a recreational paranormal investigation, nothing like, major. And so he was in the house alone. And
never be alone.
He called for help on the mobile two-way radios. And then his companions found him stabbed in the chest, an apparently self-inflicted wound. He was, from my research, I think he survived it, though. I have to go farther down. He was brought to the hospital, and then he was helicoptered to Creighton University Medical Center in Omaha. They said it happened around 12:45 a.m., approximate to the time of that in 1912. So it is kind of maybe connects to like that dark entity type thing where, something takes over.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
I have to go farther down, but I do believe that I read that he did survive. I know when I was going down through here. So, let me see if I can find it.
What was his name?
Last name was Larson. Robert Stephen Larson, Jr. The town has drawn a lot of attention since the Larson episode. However, both Samson and Linda caretakers say they've never been inundated with media inquiries. Maybe I'm wrong. Go.
Service.
Oh, yep. Lynn and Samson say that Larson has recovered from his injuries, but Larson will not comment any further. So he did. He recovered from it, but they don't talk about it. What happened?
What the hell?
I know.
Robert?
Interesting.
We need to know.
Yeah. So, a lot of tours there, they've been cut short because people freak out when they hear children's voices and lamps falling and moving ladders and flying objects. So there's a lot of people that they get halfway through and they're like, forget this, we're not doing it. It's too much.
Yeah, it would be a lot.
It would be.
If you're going there, you do not go into anywhere alone. Go there with a group.
Yeah.
Clearly, because no one's going to probably go there by themselves. But if you're going into a separate room to leave your group, take somebody with you. He had a two-way radio.
Well, yeah, he was in there alone, which, obviously he just shouldn't be.
Right. Because it's safe. Put your safety first with any type of investigating. Not this location, but any type of investigating. Do not go alone. Don't even walk down the street alone. We live in a scary world. Just don't do it. Just safety.
They did get the crew that went in there May 30th of 2014. They've got 16 different EVPs, and they've got tons of different videos of documentation. And what I really liked about how they did their EVPs was they timed them all out. So I kind of like that, where they obviously use a digital camera. Let's see. And they made sure that, no children were present during the recording, so anything that they did get, if they got kids that came through. But it shows 23 seconds into it, they heard someone say mom. About a minute into it, they heard someone whistling. They got several several different things. About 1 minute and 54 minutes into it, they got mumbling, but then they got my mom and dad. And then 2 minutes and 13 seconds into it, they heard mommy. And then 2 minutes and 29 seconds, there's some mumbling, and then they heard did it. And then 2 minutes and 38 seconds, they got growling. Then 2 minutes and 55 seconds whistling. And then 3 minutes and 17 seconds and uh-huh. And then at 3 minutes and 24 seconds, unknown, like rumbling type thing. More growling after that. About 4 minutes in, there was more just kind of mumbling. At 4 minutes and 14 seconds, they heard like deep exhaling. And like at 5 minutes and 13 seconds, they hear tell the killer that. And then more, inaudible stuff. They heard deep exhales again. And then about 6 minutes and 22 seconds into it, they heard like short screams. And then 6 minutes and 24 seconds, they heard tell them. And a lot of it was kids that were coming through.
See, if I went back and, thinking, I would say, to me, I don't even know how I want to put this, but the kids being left maybe earthbound because they were confused. Clearly the parents were too, but they were grown. I don't know how to put it into words, but I know what I'm trying to say. And
they're kind of stuck there.
Yeah. And they want to tell, and it's probably the one girl that was awake.
Well, too, if you think about it, too, this is like a highly hot paranormal spot. So how many people have come in there to do investigations? How many are spiritual, but how many go to the darker side and came in to do some kind of ritualistic or satanic thing, and they conjured more spirits? So now you just have tons of spirits there.
That's true.
Tons of energy that's just there.
That shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like if those kids are there, that was their house.
And if it's already an energy vortex in general, there's tons of spirit coming through.
Okay, let's say, clearly those kids weren't negative beforehand, but afterwards, because the way they were taken out, do you believe that would turn that negative?
I think it could create an angry energy, a confusion, not knowing where you are. Or so just knowing that, you're stuck there and there's nothing you can do.
Well, why hasn't somebody that knows how to cross them over help them? See, that's what I don't understand.
I don't know.
So why wouldn't you want to go there and help them? Yeah, I know people want evidence, but ultimately, I don't want to say a true investigator, but one, because we all got different reasons as to why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But all the amount of people that went in there, why hasn't somebody helped them?
I don't know.
Like, are they told not to? Because then if you take away those occurrences, then there's
no reason to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
Besides the history of it.
It could be, But it's fascinating. I like the fact that they do these investigations and everybody collects the data and they keep it so that you can go in there and you can connect with the other experiences and see what other people have experienced. That's cool.
Great. We need to go.
That'd be fun.
I know we need to go to the East Coast. I know we need to go into the West. I know we just need to go everywhere.
Yeah.
But the Villisca House is for sure, I know on my list, for sure. We need to, like I said, it could be a quick weekend thing because we really just need one overnight over there. And Dad's driven straight through and back home to Iowa in a day.
Mm-hmm. He can do it.
I'm just saying. He totally good. For us to have our experience. And for us to reach out to the owners of the house, I would love to speak to them. If they don't want to do like an interview on here, but at least let us ask them some questions or something would be wonderful.
About their experiences and things like that. Yeah.
To see if they stayed the night there.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe try to back up some of her notebooks, the stories that she's got in her notebooks from people and stuff like that. Like, why don't they have cameras in there? I'd be having cameras in there 24/7.
Yeah, to see what you can kind of get. Yeah.
You know,
that's what I was thinking. If they have toys moving, wouldn't you want to view it?
Why wouldn't you have the DVR system set up everywhere. You don't have to be there. You can be at your house, link it up, just get some Wi-Fi in that bitch, and link it up, and you can watch it even on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'd be doing. I'd probably be obsessed. That's probably why. But, I mean, but to be able to verify some of these stories and why hasn't this made, well, I guess kind of all axe murder horror movies are kind of based on it, but why there wasn't a movie
made on it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because they don't have the answers.
I mean, maybe there's a documentary on it, but like, you know, how they've done like The Shining and the other movies and
just made a
basic one, even to make it a true crime movie. Even I don't know. So many questions. I need to find my other paper here. Oh, Mom. So many papers I didn't even use. Come on. God, I picked it up. Is that the trash man?
No, I think it's the guy dumping the dirt.
Oh. Oh, shit, it is. We're quiet. We're recording. Okay, so with all that being said, again, I apologize for being all over the place. We are going to certainly try to put this on our list to visit within the next year. Just a very fascinating case.
Mm-hmm. It is.
The case itself with the murders, because it is unsolved. The paranormal experiences people tell us about, that we get to read and research on, is amazing. So if you are listening and you have been to the Villisca Axe Murder House and have stories, even if you don't, you just visited, email us. We want to hear for sure. Because we will totally document everything when we get our chance to go out there. It's just going to be wonderful. Again, very tragic story. And I'm sorry if I murdered the story myself by going all over the place. There's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much. Again, keep listening. I hope we don't lose you. Please, yes, please. Because we highly enjoy doing this. Even if we just have one consistent listener, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
That's sweet to me. And this month in September has been crazy hectic with the wedding. Of course, I'm going to talk about it because it's mine.
Yeah.
But I'm having it at Mama Mary's house, so that's even more exciting. So we have been super busy, and we have been quiet on the Facebook. But in October, we are going to come back, like, super strong. We got some awesome episodes coming up. We got some road trips, clearly, that we're going to be taking. Because a lot of our schedule will be open now, since no more wedding crap.
Yeah.
We're ready for. Bleh. Who's got to get married? What a bunch of crap. I'm just kidding. It's going to be fun. So remember, don't yuck someone else's yum.
Ever.
Write us in your stories, even if it's not on the Villisca Axe Murder House. Your stories, your concerns, your problems. Well, we want to hear them. Not all your problems. But if you just want to tell us some stuff, that's cool. paranormalxl at writeme.com. All lowercase. Look us up on Facebook. paranormalxl at the Facebook. If you want to support the podcast in any shape, way, or form, visit our Patreon page. That's always a link in the show notes and on the Facebook. If you don't know what a Patreon is, click on the link. It'll take you to it. It'll show you different levels. It's essentially donations to help us out. There's all different levels, starting from $1. Yeah. So we will talk to you next week. Well, probably 2 weeks, because we're probably going to put this in a 2-parter. So this will be the last one that you'll hear at the end. We love you! Are you laughing at me?
Yes.
I can't get to stop. Bye.